I often fuse. We have similar names, although he's got much better voice and a bigger bank account. There's food, there's drinks, there's concerts all night long. This is supposed to be the second biggest New Year's Eve party in the state, second to New Orleans, we are told. 150,000 people here in Tempe. We are looking over it live now from the bridge. Some group is singing now. I've got to be honest, I'm not sure who they are, and I cannot vouch for their performances tonight, but we can vouch for the performance of the Fiesta Bowl tomorrow. It should be a great game. Colorado number 3, Oregon number 2. You guys talk about the national championship implications. Mike Bellotti, the Ducks coach, all week long has been touting this as a national championship game. He's got a point, but then today, when the coaches met the media for the final time, he kind of backed off those statements and said, you know what, now that he thinks about it, maybe this game, at least to him, doesn't have that national championship feel.
I'm not sure this feels like a national championship. I'll tell you, because of the BCS, and one of my coaches made the comment to me, to win it, you have to be in it, and we're not in it. This game has those implications, though, but I don't feel that, and I don't mean that in a negative sense. I think that's probably good. My team realized this is a bowl game against a great team with obvious opportunities.
I've seen more of Mike Bellotti than I have my wife this week, but chance to get to know him a little bit. It's been just, for us, it's been a perfect week as far as our preparation goes and going into this game. And I think, said many times now, that the opportunity that's out there for both these teams is huge.
So those are comments from Oregon coach Mike Bellotti. Now a guy who's not only covered the Ducks this week, but all season long, Joe Johnsante joins us now. What is your feeling? I mean, is this a national championship game? Is it the players gone about this week like it is? What is your feeling this week?
Well, I think the players are completely convinced that it is a national championship game. When you talk to them at practice all week long, that's what they've said. You know, when you tell yourself something so many times, right, it becomes true, and that's what they've done. And Rashad Bowman just said it. Hey, we're here, we're playing for the national championship. And in their minds, if they win this football game, regardless of what happens in Pasadena, I think they'll feel like champions. Of course, they want that split, they want that banner hanging for the new Watson Stadium, and they got a shot to do it.
At worst, they win the Fiesta Bowl, a game they've never been in. They finished number 2 in the nation, so certainly a very big game no matter what happens in the Rose Bowl.
Right, and when you talk about big games in the history of Oregon football, yes, there are big games. The Rose Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, and there were some other big games way, way back when. But I tell you what, there's no question that this is the biggest game in the history of Oregon football. The Oregon painted in the end zone. The stadium all dressed up for a New Year's bash. The patch on the uniforms. It's finally here. The biggest game in the history of Oregon football, the biggest game in these players' lives.
This is huge for us. I mean, this is a great opportunity, probably one of the only opportunities we have to claim a national championship. So, you know, we've had a great week of practice, and we've been preparing really well for this game.
It is. I mean, that's what dreams are made of. This is what college football is about.
Yeah, it is the biggest game of my life, just because, you know, it's the last one, and I mean, it does hold the biggest implications for our team, you know, such as a national championship, and it is the biggest bowl game that we've ever played in.
To this point, it's been a week of ups and downs for the Ducks. Maurice Morris missing the first practice with the flu. Mike Bellotti not pleased with the second practice and going public with it. But now the Ducks say they are ready.
Ready. I think these last 2 practices have been probably our best practices of the year, you know, and it's not how you start, it's how you finish.
The first few days you get here, I mean, you get overwhelmed with what's all around you. I mean, this place is bigger than Eugene, and there's a lot more stuff to do. So, I mean, guys go out and they have a good time, and you know, but as soon as you get closer to game time, you know, people understand and know what we have to do to get things done.
Just about everything said here and nationally all week has been about Colorado. They are the favorites in the game, and they're also the team most others think should be in Pasadena, despite 2 losses this year. But that's okay with Oregon. They're very familiar and comfortable in this spot.
To be honest with you, I'm kind of glad about that. It's kind of our comfort zone. You know, we seem to play so well when I don't know, when the odds are stacked up against us.
Every bowl game we've been to, it's always been, you know, when we played Texas in Holiday Bowl, it was always eyes on Texas, you know, it's been the same here. So, you know, there's no change there. I always like being the underdog. I think that's what Oregon's always been throughout the history, and this is where we belong right here.
All right, Joe, a big game obviously for Oregon, but also Colorado as well. Much more on the Fiesta Bowl coming up, guys. We're just getting warmed up on this block party. We're going to see if we can also try to find some chairs. In the Holiday Bowl, we had some chairs. We're skipping on the budget
some right
a little
over
bit.
there. We'll get them.
I think all of our budget went to the entertainment and Brian Adams.
Well, Diamond Rio, too. Don't forget about that.
Oh, all right. I tried to, guys.
Fellas, quick question for you. All teams basically go into a bowl game like this off a bit of a layoff. But for the Ducks, one game in the last 7 weeks, and they weren't that sharp against the Beavers. Any concern about rustiness going into this game tomorrow?
Well, there's some concern. Mike Bellotti talked about that a lot today. He talked about the possibility of having to work through that first quarter. They might get into a situation where they're a little stale on offense. They can't move the ball or sustain drives. Defensively, he's not too worried because he feels like the emotion of the game and the crowd and the tension that's out there will help carry him through. So I think that there's a concern offensively, but I think that if they can get through that first quarter, even with Colorado, they'll be in good shape.
And they love playing at Sun Devil Stadium. Don't forget the game last year. They feel comfortable there, and they score a lot of points. So that could be good for tomorrow's game, too, guys.
All right, we'll check back with you guys momentarily. Stand by. You know, with all the hype surrounding Joey Harrington and this Ducks offense, a rock-solid Ducks running game really didn't get its props this season. We'll take care of that when we connect with Ontario Smith, a 1,000-yard rusher who started the season in trouble and on the bench, but he's out of trouble now.
Absolutely. Ducks tight end Josh Wilcox deserves some airtime, too, and he's going to get it when he joins Brad and Joe live when we take you back to Tempe when our Fiesta Bowl special continues. Joey champion. Joey Harrington on the eve of his final game at the University of Oregon, and what a senior season it has been. I tell you, that quarterback rating, phenomenal, and the touchdown to interception ratio, one that has to have everybody feeling very confident about Joey coming up big time in tomorrow's big game. Harrington's play will be important, but odds are this game, like many others, will be decided in the trenches and on the ground, and both clubs can certainly run the ball with the best of them.
Oh, you got that right. With the Ducks offering up a 1-2 punch of Maurice Morris and Ontario Smith, I mean, these guys are tough to stop when they get going. For more on the Ducks running game, we reconnect with Brad Adam and Joe John Sante in Tempe. Hi, guys.
Well, guys, you're right. I mean, certainly Joey Harrington kind of makes this Ducks offense go. He has been the focal point all year long. But the running back tandem has certainly given him a lot of help. Ontario Smith, Maurice Morris, over 1,900 yards, 15 touchdowns as a tandem. Really impressive this year. Really came on strong towards the end of the year as well.
Oh, it's amazing what Ontario was able to do and pick up, and when Ontario had some injuries. And, you know, Ontario is in a long line of running backs that have come to Oregon kind of out of the blue. Saladin McCullough, a JC transfer. Reuben Drones, a JC transfer. Ontario Smith, he went to Tennessee, and it's kind of amazing that he even ended up at Oregon. Ontario Smith always knew he wanted to play for the national championship on the biggest stage. That's why he went to Tennessee, signing on the dotted line at the same time the Vols were celebrating the title. Well, he made it, ironically, at Oregon.
In fact, he kind of mentioned that one day in one of our meetings, and I think the thing was, I think he really kind of wanted to match up with Tennessee, and I told him, I said, we don't want to play those guys. They're not going to be ranked in the top 4.
When I was in Tennessee and we went to the ball game, it was the same exact bowl, so it is kind of crazy, but you know, that's what we live for, you know, playing in college football, big games like this, and we just got to take it to them.
Ontario has been taking it to him from the first moment he stepped on the field for the Ducks. And from that moment, the key play in the win over Wisconsin to this bulldozer run at Washington State. In fact, Ontario turned out to be even better than anyone thought.
He honestly did. Not better than a lot of people thought, but I think I always wait. I think practice is one thing, but see young turn on in the game and do certain things, and also to get along so well in a backup role, and yet and contribute so much as a backup, and also keep the relationship between he and Maurice has probably makes me feel better than anything else. His performance has been great, but that whole thing has been good for the football team, good for those two.
While Morris will be gone next year, Ontario still has 2 years left, and Oregon coaches hope he'll use those 2 years before moving on to the NFL. But what a trip it's been to this point, a trip that has him playing possibly for the ultimate prize in college football.
It's going to be real rewarding, you know, just being out there with a bunch of guys that I'm going to be out there with and playing in a game of this magnitude, so it's going to be real wonderful.
And let's take a look at some of the stats that Ontario Smith piled up this year. As a backup, over 1,000 yards, becoming the 9th player in Oregon history to reach the century mark, or the 1,000 mark, I should say. Also chipped in with 7 touchdowns in a backup role. Truly impressive, and he's got 2 more years, as you said, Joe, which is great for Duck fans. Now, Colorado runs the ball as well. They've got a 3-headed monster. They combine for almost 2,500 yards, 25 touchdowns. How are the Ducks going to slow these guys down after what they did to Nebraska and also Texas?
Well, they run the ball. There's no question about it. But people should remember, if you look at Oregon's defense, especially later in the year, that's when they played better against the run. And if you look at the statistics in the Pac-10, Oregon was 2nd against the run in the Pac-10. People don't realize that because they gave up so many yards during the course of the year. But this team does a good job at the line of scrimmage between the tackles, and they put guys in the box. 8, 9, they expect to do that, and we would expect they would do that again tomorrow. The key, I think, Brad, really, Rasuli Webster and Keith Lewis, the safeties. That's why they had so many yards against Nebraska, is because the safeties for Nebraska played horrible. If Rasuli Webster and Keith Lewis do what they want, they'll stop that run.
They need to stop that run. Colorado certainly a run-first offense, and passing only when necessary. The run sets up the pass. Guys, back to you.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. By the way, the annual Fiesta Bowl rally held today at Wells Fargo Arena on campus at Arizona State University. They didn't have Bryan Adams on hand, so it couldn't be much of a party, but they did the best they could.
They had a great time. Look at that. The Ducks faithful, band, and cheer staff getting pumped up for the game, and probably New Year's Eve, too. Everybody feeling like a winner today, but for one team, that'll change tomorrow. We got more coming from Tempe, including the story of a father who played at Oregon, but whose son is now a Buffalo. Special of all the great arguments sort of surrounding this whole BCS system is, should a team with 2 losses be considered for the national title? And if Colorado wins tomorrow, of course, they still have those 2 losses. They'll make the claim for at least a piece of the national title. What do you think?
Well, Oregon would have 2 losses as well, so I think they would still have a beef. But at that point, I think you'd have to look at the winner of that Miami-Nebraska game as the undisputed champion of the NCAA football tournament this year. What do you guys think? Brad Adam, Joe Johnsonti back in Tempe. What do you guys think about that?
Well, we talked about it before, guys, and I agree with you. I don't think there's any way, and Joe agrees too. I'll speak for you, Joe, by the way, that no way Colorado with 2 losses should be a national champion. I mean, you can't forget the early season defeats. Nobody with 2 losses, I don't think, should win, no matter how good they're playing at the end of the year. Remember, Oregon State last year probably playing the best ball of anybody. They crushed Notre Dame in the Fiesta Bowl, yet you know, the early season losses did them in. That's just kind of the way it works right now. The BCS system, let's face it, it doesn't work. Talking about the game tomorrow, though, Colorado, they run because they're very successful. When they do throw the ball, they've got an All-American tight end that they like to throw to, and why not? I mean, Daniel Graham is outstanding. His first touchdown of his career against the Oregon Ducks back in the Aloha Bowl. Now his dad, Tom, has seen every single game his son has played, except one. You see, Tom went to the University of Oregon, played linebacker. He was pretty good as well. In fact, he was inducted into the Oregon Sports Hall of Fame. That's the one Colorado game he missed. So he's kind of divided allegiances here tomorrow. Drew Goodman has the story.
The last college football game that Daniel will play is against the University of Oregon, where you just went into their Hall of Fame, where you had an outstanding career. Before we get to the NFL stuff, how special is that for you?
Him playing against the Ducks? Yeah. Well,
and who are you rooting for? And who are you
rooting for? It could be bittersweet. See, because I've been watching, you know, and listening, and everybody saying that the Buffs just gonna go run roughshod over the Ducks. The Ducks don't lay down for nobody. Okay, we call the Fighting Ducks, and everybody got their feathers. Okay, and as far as you know, who I'm rooting for on that one,
you haven't decided yet, have you?
Yeah, I've decided. I've decided for
because Maryland will kick you out of the house if you don't make the right decision.
New year out being a Buffalo, but the remainder of the 200 or 364 days or whatever, I will be a Duck.
Once a Duck, always a Duck.
Once a Duck, always a Duck.
Graham, what a catch! Touchdown! He readjusted.
Could you cover him?
Okay. First of all, Russ Francis is one of the best tight ends to ever play. Okay, zilch. He caught zilch, okay, in the game against us, and he was crying about it, too. Russ never caught nothing against me. When I went to the Chargers, Riley caught one ball against me, and no, I could cover them and could cover you back then and now.
And there's no response.
He knows.
Exactly.
He knows.
You know, I have to respect my father, so.
There you go.
So the Ducks will have their hands full with the All-American tight end. When we come back on our Fiesta Bowl preview, live from the block party. Yes, it's Tostitos Fiesta Bowl, so everybody getting free Tostitos as they start to file into the park here in Tempe. When we come back, we talk more tight end. Josh Wilcox, the former Oregon tight end, drops by and gives his prediction and kind of his knowledge and what this means to the Oregon program. Keep it right there. All right, guys, welcome back. Josh Wilcox here, the former Oregon tight end. He scores a touchdown in the '95 Rose Bowl against Penn State. And I tell you what, you make us look bad. We got the jackets on. He's a tough, big guy. What's up? Anyway, all right. Give us a prediction. Talk about what this means to the Oregon program, win or lose, and do you think they will win?
I want to know where you got that jacket at, first of all. I mean, that's big stuff.
We'll get you one of those. No?
I can't get official duck
I
garb.
got a members only one back at the house, so I don't know.
Talk about that.
Well, the thing is Oregon's in a bowl game finally. I guess you could say they got gypped or whatever. There's so much stuff about the BCS, but it's every year it's somebody's turn to complain about it. It was our turn, and we should have blocked punt protection. So we can't complain about anything. All that's done. We're playing a tough Colorado team who I've been throttled by before when I played, and you can't let it down. You can't worry about what anybody else says. It's a game. It's a bowl game. It's a Fiesta Bowl. And doesn't get much better than that.
So who's going to win?
Well, Oregon, of course. I mean, I'm not as dumb as I look sometimes, but
be close.
I think it's going to be real close. I think Oregon has to make sure that they can stop Daniel Graham because outside, I think our corners match up well, but inside, if Graham can get past our linebackers and our safeties, that's going to create a lot of problems on play action, and especially with the running game Colorado has.
Josh, enjoy the block party and the game tomorrow. Thanks for dropping by.
Hey, anytime. I don't know about you two guys, but I'm going to really enjoy that block.